Hi everyone. I'm just taking a bit of a break, so to answer a very quick question that have been asked by one of the followers about parenting courses. So the question is, when we come to Europe with our children, do we require parenting courses? Um, the, there's no straightforward answer to that question, unfortunately, but I'll try to give you some sort of views about parenting courses when you bring your children from abroad to Europe, or vice versa when you take your children back to your country of origin. Children normally adapt easily to situations, but they also face a lot of difficulties as a result of those changes. So, as a matter of fact, I would then say yes. Most of us will need some parenting courses. The parenting courses that you will need will be very helpful in you trying to understand your child or your children as a result of this significant change in their life and the lifestyle. I did make a video before with regards to do you know your child, which I think we were very clear that most of us don't know our children. So if you don't know your child or your children very well for various reasons, as earlier explained, then I will then use that opportunity to say that you will need some parenting classes, some parenting courses. The content of this parenting course will depend on your particular need and your skills and what you already know in accordance with what presenting challenges your child has got at the moment. You might think that you're the only one facing those challenges, but your child is also facing similar challenges. So, as an immigrant, whether in Europe or you're an immigrant in Africa or in Asia, in any other country, you certainly need some sort of parenting courses to help you adapt to the situation where you are with your child as a matter of migration or immigration. So, in that context, you certainly want to do courses around child development. You want to do courses around childhood trauma, and I will explore more around childhood trauma because that's exactly what they go through when they are moving from one place to another. So you see, like children who move from one place to another with their parents, they experience a lot of trauma, and sometimes parents just feel that they're giving them the best opportunity in life. Meanwhile, in reality, they're causing them a lot of trauma as a result of this movement from one place to another. And as such, we need to understand that. So, what are the causes of trauma to start with? There are a lot of causes of trauma for a child, and it will depend on what the child is facing at that time. But the main things that we need to understand and get awareness around is because of this movement, we've relocated from one place to another. It might just mean a relocation from one town, one city to another city. It can actually cause a child a lot of trauma. And this can be intentional violence. When I mean intentional violence, I will break it down into the various aspects, which you have what they call physical violence, where you physically chastise your child, you cause you got physical contact with your child. It might be unfriendly wrestling and things that will frighten your child to feel unsafe. So that is what we call some sort of physical abuse, which you inflict pain to your child. Then there are sexual abuse as well. Sexual abuse in itself is not just about having sexual contact or sexual intercourse and so on, but it is about inappropriate touching of the child. It might not be from a parent, it might be from anybody. And as a result of that, because this child is being subjected to such sort of treatment, they start to experience some level of trauma because it's unusual for that child to go through such type of unacceptable sort of behavior. So it might be exposure to sexual content, even through videos or whatever, so long as it is something exposing intimate relationship activities or ideas. It is considered as sexual abuse. Then there is domestic abuse that also constitute as part of what trauma can mean to those children or to your child. So domestic abuse might not necessarily mean only fighting between parents, and it might be actually physical abuse from a child to the parent, to one of the parents, and that is something that is happening within the household. When it's happening under that house, under that roof in that household, it's known as domestic abuse. It does not necessarily mean parents fighting or arguing or shouting at each other. It might just be some sort of intimidating attitude from one of the person in the household, which will result to some sort of domestic abuse, which is emotional in a sense, and so on. So some other aspects that can cause a child trauma might be natural disasters. When children come from war-torn zones, or let me say war-torn areas, or they face some natural disaster or events which have made them to be displaced. It might be civil war, it might be some sort of flood and so on, which has caused them to leave their natural or habitual resident or environment to another one, can actually cause them trauma. So those aspects, including things like accident, when a child have experienced some accidents or one accident, it might be traumatic, might cause them some fears, and that will impact on the behavior. So we have other things like bullying, cyberbullying. I will talk about bullying at one point because it is very relevant for us to know that our children are going through some of these issues, even though they might not be courageous enough to share it with you, depending on how you got your relationship with your child is. So they might be suffering from bullying or cyberbullying, and they're not telling you. Another traumatic event can be chaos, or dysfunctional household, when your house is very chaotic. There's no rule, no guidance, and nobody's listening to anybody. Nobody's been able to take control and keep things in order. It will mean that the household is in chaos. And when it's in chaos, or it's dysfunctional, as we call it, then it can cause that child some level of trauma, which then become difficult for you to navigate and orientate them to the right direction. Some other aspects can be as a result of parental mental illness. I'm not saying mental health, I mean mental illness. So when parents experience some mental disturbances due to the stress and pressure that they're put under as a result of moving from one place to another, uh, issues around jobs, accommodation, health, loss of friendship, family contacts, absence of social capital, what we call social capital, that's the necessary support that you have, which if you are living within your own environment and within your family, and receiving those type of support easily. So yeah, if you lack those things, it can cause some parents mental illness, and then can result to impacting on the child's stability, which then cause them some level of trauma. Another last aspect about trauma is substance misuse and incarceration. It might be surprise to some of us to understand